All right. The recording is going. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today we're going to be discussing this thread here on Smogon here, started by my boy Realistic Waters about a little bit over 4 hours now. This thread went up, and I'm going to be responding to it with my own thoughts as well as a TLDR, basically, of this entire thread. Now, RW made this post in the NP thread originally, and it got relocated over to the metagame section instead of the NP thread. But basically, there are some problems with the NU community that RW and other users have recognized, and we're going to be going over those very shortly here. The first issue is the tier leading issue. Now, I agree with RW here. I agree with every single point he makes in this post. The tier leading situation is kind of shaky at the moment. I'll use that verb lightly. We haven't had a consistently active tier leader since Eternally stepped down in about January, I believe. It might have been even before that. We had Lax step in. I don't even think Lax was the official tier leader. I think Lax might have even been the co-tier leader. And he did more than Shiloh has done currently for the tier. And I hate to break it, but it's something that really does affect the community. And Shiloh is a solo tier leader, which is a decision that I don't really agree with. I do think there are qualified people in the community to, co-lead a tier. I would like to throw a couple names out there that I think Poe and Finchinator are two of my big ones that I think could be really solid co-tier leaders. I do think that the tier has been going downhill since Eternally stepped down, as RW also says here. Now, the NU Council, I do feel, is slightly sheltered from the NU community as a whole. I feel like we do have to request quite a bit to have our opinions be heard, The NU Council, I rarely see playing Pokemon, and the only one that I see consistently playing it is Rabia, and he's playing it with Pokeaim on his channel. Other than that, we get council members that are playing in tours and such, right? But, the discussion, putting themselves in a discussion, we really don't see that too often, I could be completely off base on that, but there's some council members that I rarely see in the Pokemon Showdown room or the NU Discord throwing their 2 cents into a conversation. It is very appreciated feedback, but we're just not hearing it. I say that a lot, but that's my segue. As for the VR, I agree with RW here as well. The VR does take quite a while to update, and I feel like that's normal for a lot of tiers, but it should be addressed in a little bit more of a quicker fashion. I do like the NU community surveys that were put out because it addresses everyone in the community rather than just, this 9 or I don't even know how many people are on council. I think it's 9, but I could be wrong. The majority's voices do matter. And, if we have 9 people making the decision for the whole tier, it's not going to go well. We haven't had council minutes since Lax was tier leader, and that was February, if I'm not mistaken. He was tier leader for maybe about a month or so, and we have not had a council minutes since then. I really don't understand why. I would appreciate that maybe once every month or so, or once every 3 weeks. Something, relatively frequent, but not too long to where we're needing another one. Like, if we have one every 6 weeks or 8 weeks or something, I feel like people are going to clamor for that even more when every 3 weeks it's a consistent schedule and our thoughts can be addressed. The NU room, I do think, is probably the most stable part about the tier. I do think we do have some really good users in there. There's people who promote activity and include everyone. And like RW says, he throws out a couple names: Oathkeeper, myself, Zero, Roxy and Corthius. I would throw a couple others in there. But these people really need to be appreciated more, I think, for what they do in the room. When, the tier leader and other high officials aren't, corralling activity and aren't keeping these people involved and engaged. I'm not going to address the NUPL stuff because I feel like there's a lot of drama around that. And the TLDR of RW's post really addresses my thoughts almost perfectly. There's certain points in the community personally where I feel that I'm not necessarily a valued member in the community just because, all these other people have RW says cookie cutter. I don't think that's necessarily the right term. I would say a specific mold, really. It's like if you take Play-Doh, and as a kid, if you had like the little molds that you could fit the Play-Doh in, it's kind of like that. These people are, malleable, and they fit into that mold, and therefore their opinions mean more. I think that's something that also needs to be addressed, is that everyone does have a voice, and, this tier can't be run like a authoritarian or totalitarian system. It needs to be a democracy, I think. Sure, we need to have the higher-ups make important decisions, but the people who aren't in that higher-up role do feel alienated from these communities of people. I really feel it's about maybe 15 people. It's 15 people in one circle. Everyone else on the right. The 15 are on the left. Everyone else is in the right, and there's very little overlap in the middle. It's like a Venn diagram. A couple of these other posts. I agree with PokeSlice here. Council, I'm just going to go over the bolded points. Council should serve the community based on what they... It shouldn't be based on what they think, however. It's, the community. And I also think he brings up a good point here with the Cresselia vote and the Cresselia thing. I would say it's more around 80% rather than 85%. 80% of the community was hounding for something to be done about Cresselia, but there was a period of what felt like ages where we really didn't get any sort of input whatsoever, and there was constantly, it was every day in February where Cresselia was being discussed, and a majority of us did think that it was broken or deserved a suspect, which, it eventually had and eventually was banned. But there were people who were arguing that, it's a very slim majority. If I remember correctly, there were 28 qualified voters for the suspect, and it was a 23-5 vote for ban to do not ban. It's quite an overwhelming majority. And again, transparency is a big thing. And I would say this is a little bit of an extreme here. If you don't have time to, actually, let me retract that. I do think that is a valid point. If you're not going to be active or at least insert yourself into the community in some way other than being a shadow member on the council, and by shadow member, I don't mean like the fake council. I mean, if you're just going to be on council and we see nothing from you, it gives us the vibe that, you're not active. There's a couple people on council currently who are like that, and it really irritates me. I would say please don't be on council is a little bit harsh. I would say at least make an attempt to be more active. If you can't, then yeah, I do think it's fair to step down. But I accidentally clicked reply. All right, cool. So I think if you do go on a little bit of a break, that's fine. Like a 3-week vacation, that's fine. There are other members. But if everyone is on a hiatus for some reason, we really just don't have a council. And again, council being like a secluded group, we are not entirely sure the entire dynamic of the council, and it sucks. And yeah, and I agree with PokeSlice here. There are certain users who, keep me in this community. So my personal thoughts have already been really... All right, my bad. I had to mute my mic there for a second. If there's anything that I would have to add to this, I would say transparency is a really good tool. I think we need council minutes. I think we need some sort of... I've made this clear on the MP thread before, and I think we just need some sort of like update, like on the forums particularly, because people can view the forums, but not all of them are in the NU Discord where most of these updates come from. You know, we get a one-liner from, you know, high up officials once in a blue moon, and then that's our update. And then they complain when we're like demanding another update because we apparently don't know how to read and can't read their message properly. I don't know. It's really something that bugs me because if you make an update, it needs to be put on the forums, like addressing the community, because the majority of the people will see this on the forums and they're not in the NU Discord. There are people who are like that. And the more outreach will happen on the Smoke On forums. So that pretty much rounds up my video. I just wanted to address that. I do think there are things council could do to be better. I do think there is some managing the like leadership roles that could be reallocated to different people. You know, I do think there are active people who do deserve praise, you know, that we have in the community that don't really get praised all that often for doing what they do for the community. And it really sucks. It alienates people from the community. And without that praise, sure, I'm not going to be the one to say that everyone needs praise all the time. An occasional praise would be fine, just to know that their input is valued. We really don't see that, other than, you know, the arbitrary likes feature on posts that we see here. Like Gumi just got 2 likes on this post. RW currently has 34. You know, Slice has 5. Like, this is an arbitrary number. People can just go on there and like it just because, without reading the whole content of it. So I do think some people do deserve a little bit more public praise for what they do for the community, like RW gives here to the room off right on this line and right here. You know, this is positive reinforcement, and that keeps them, you know, making better content, putting out more content for people to read and people to respond to. Content that keeps the community engaged. That's where we're really going wrong. We don't have that engagement because nothing's happening up top. It's like a pyramid. Sure, the bottom and the base is fine, but as we keep moving up the pyramid, it's crumbling. You know, I just watched Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and like that whole trilogy, and it's every fight scene when they're launching rocks through the walls and shit, and we see it crumble down. That's exactly what's happening with the NU tier at the moment. And, you know, if nothing's done about it, the tier will die, and it's already dying. But if even more doesn't happen, you know, we're going to see a huge decline in people who consistently post in this tier just not be there anymore. And an example of that is Eternally. Eternally stepped down, returned, and, you know, is now gone from NU again. Eternally is just one example. There's going to be more who will eventually, if there's any auth that step down, they probably won't return to the tier. And that's something that needs to be fixed. How you would fix that? I think, again, positive reinforcement and engagement. Activity is just the root of this problem. And without activity, the tier will die, and so on and so forth. That's pretty much all I got. I'm just really pissed off at the moment, just because of the way the tier is being managed. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my thoughts. I would suggest giving RW, PokeSlice, and Gumi likes on this thread. I will link this in the description, of course. But I would read their thoughts as well and take it as you will. But that's really all I got. Thank you for watching, and like and subscribe. Thank you.